kind of want to deal with the topic of long-term relationships and how we can have more success in those relationships. If you're just meeting me, my name is Arl Lawson. I'm a certified coach out of New Jersey in the USA. So I'm really excited to be with you. I've done part one and part two of this, I guess, series, I want to call it. And so tonight I'm just going to expound on it. I'm going to go through the third step of this series. And again, this topic is something that's near and dear to me because it's the type of topic that I can relate to it from a personal level because of my own life. Because I was in a long-term relationship that ended up failing later on in the relationship. But when I look back on it and I really did a deep search within myself, I saw that a lot of things that were done, and I'll talk about my side from my view, or things that could have changed. But ignorance is a big challenge because things that you don't know, you just don't know. And so day one, we talked about, communication, the part of communication and how it plays an intricate part in the success of your relationships. And so in part of talking about, the communication and the different areas of communication, I'm not going to go over I'm just giving you a brief overview. So when you look at the communication was important because it discussed areas where there's an argument or there's some kind of a disagreement that goes on, and the proper way to handle that. We discussed as far as how to handle issues that come up as far as allowing your person to make sure that they're being seen and heard at all times, because in many relationships there seems to be a thread when relationships fail, and the thread that causes the failure is because of just certain things that just stop taking place in the relationship. There stops being a level of respect, and the respect doesn't fall apart immediately. It's something that takes place over a period of time. So when you look at the failure of the relationships, again, a lot of times it's as a result of, no longer is there a place where that person can come and they can feel comfortable in sharing different thoughts and different things and different, views of what they're feeling. If your person can't come to you and be open and honest and share with you, that's going to cause a level of tension. And if it's always the type of thing where everything that they say is second guessed, or they're always made to feel like they're wrong and nothing that they say is right, and you're over talking them and all of these different things that take place in relationships, it's going to cause a level of bitterness at some point. So first thing that's going to happen is that person's going to be hurt. They're going to be hurt by the way that you're treating them. And even what's going to add insult to injury is when they come to you, and if they talk to you about it, if you kind of brush it off or blow it off and don't see the significance, the importance of what they are saying to you in that moment, then what happens is it will go from, them being hurt to a place, basically some level of bitterness where they're going to be bitter about, the way that you're treating them and not being heard. And so at some point, you're just going to go through a number of different phases to get to resentment. And I'm not going through all the phases. I talk about that more in video one and video two, which the videos will be numbered, and I'll put them all in one group. And so those that want to kind of go through and study this series on their own, they can kind of go through and hit one video and just go to the next, and whatever, to get the information, because it is important. If you want to have success in your relationship, the easiest way, or success in general, you want to follow the footsteps of someone that has gone before you, someone that has done what you've done, someone that has, maybe gone before you and made the mistakes and know the things that you need to do to help you have the success that you want. And what better way to find out or figure out what not to do or what to do than follow someone that has already done it or not done it. So day one dealt with, again, over talking and not being respectful in your communication. And then day two was more about, infidelity. And so sometimes infidelity is a direct correlation or direct result of the things that happened in day one, because of the disrespect, because of not being there as a place to listen, because of not being a safe space, because of not being someone that's actually seeing them and hearing them, not validating them, not communicating, but talking at them, over talking them, and all the other things that I discussed in that first video. In day 2, which I did yesterday, that video, I talked more about the infidelity that takes place in relationships. And sometimes it is a catalyst of the person just because of who they are as a person, because they're not a person that's a committed person. But other times there can be other things that can trigger the things inside them, which could be the communication, the things that we discussed in day 1. And so because of the infidelity and the betrayals which takes place, there's always a lot of secrets. There's things that are being done behind this person's back where they're not seeing certain things and they don't know certain things. There's a lot of the betrayals are not only physical but they're emotional. A lot of the emotional betrayals start, and which I discuss in detail in video 1, 2. They start in communication, which I discussed in day 1. Again, these videos will be numbered. They will be numbered. And so if you go up on my page, you'll see number 2, where I talk about long-term relationships and how they fail and things along those lines. And so because of this trust, boundaries are destroyed and trust is broken. And so I wish someone had given me this advice that I'm giving to you for free, or given to you. Maybe I will charge for it. I don't know. But I wish someone had given me this advice, because it would have saved a lot of heartache, and then it would have been the type of advice that would have helped to possibly preserve, if the relationship was supposed to continue to go on, which I don't know that it was. Because I believe that there are times and seasons for things. There are some people that come into our lives for spaces and times, and there's lessons and there's objectives that we are supposed to learn and supposed to go through. So advice, that advice is important. So we would eliminate that path of failure. And so tonight I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the financial issues that take place within these relationships. So the first day we talked about communication. Second day we talked about infidelity, the betrayals. And then the third day 3, we're talking about financial struggles. These are the big 3 which cause majority of breakups in relationships. If you look it up, there's going to be some form of one of these 3. In irreconcilable differences is the communication. Infidelity is cheating. And then money problems. So these are to me, this is the big 3 why people fail in relationships. And I'm titling this for long-term relationships, but a thought just came to me. I'm going to title this as these are the big 3 of why relationships fail. And so this is why these topics have to be discussed in detail. When you're dating or courting someone, you have to discuss in detail what are your ideas, or what are your thoughts about intimacy, as far as you and that person. How often, so on and so forth. Because then later on, it can't be this thing where it's a chore. It's something that it's like some grudge thing that you're doing begrudgingly. Also, with money, that you got to talk in detail about finances, and what are your goals, and what are the things that you want to accomplish, and what are the things that you're doing, and what is the long-term objective, and are you a saver, and do you have a lot of debts, and all these things are topics that have to be discussed. As well as, like I discussed in day 1, the communication. You have to discuss how you're going to handle any disagreements, and what is the goal of having the conversation when there is a disagreement, and going through. And I talk about this stuff in detail, so I'm not going to belabor it. But you should have a format of how you're going to handle different difficulties that come up in your life, because if you're serious. These videos are not for people that want to play games. These videos are for people that are interested in building a long-term successful relationship. If you want to play games and you want to be on the talk shows and the podcast, and you want to talk and do all these sensationalisms and all these things that go on, this wouldn't be for you. But if you're the type of person that you are serious about your relationship and building something long term, that is a blessing and a benefit to your kids and to your family, and something that where you're building something with another person that you're committed to. This is who these videos are for. And so in day 3, I'm talking about some of the financial struggles and that happen within relationships. Because if you're with a person, especially the longer that you're with them, at some point throughout that relationship, there will be financial difficulties that come up. There will be struggles that come up. I saw an article today, a guy that I know that was a basketball player at one time. He ended up having training he had three sons. He trained all three of them. All three of them were in the NBA at one time. He ended up, his wife ended up getting sick, had a stroke, and had to learn how to walk and talk and all these things. And he helped her through that whole process. And then after this, I mean, and they had been married for let's say 25 years. I'll use that as a number because I don't know the exact years, but it was a long time. And their kids are all in their 20s, and they're all one or two of them is still in the NBA. And so through this process, and again, I'm telling you a paraphrase of what this article was. I don't know for sure if in fact these are the exact details of these people's lives. I do not know. And I'm just saying this as an example, and I'm not accusing anybody because I don't know who's at fault or what the reasons were or why things happened the way they did. But my point is they had been married for an extended period of time. They have kids in their 20s. They have a successful business. They have kids that are children that are successful. They have all the things, all the trimmings, all the things that look like success within society. So she goes through the stroke, has to get therapy. He's helping her. He's with her throughout this whole process. Then after this, because of his diet or something that happened, he ended up having to get his feet amputated and then a portion of his leg up to like his knee and so on and so forth. And through this process, after he goes through his process, she leaves. I don't know why she left, but they had been married for a long time. They've been married for 20 some years or 30 years. I don't know. And so she leaves him. And when the process of her leaving him, I can imagine that he's hurt because he had just helped her because she had a stroke. So this woman might be 40 something, let's say 40 something. She had a stroke, but a stroke affects people where it affects their mobility, it affects their speech, it affects good evening, Latai. And so by her having this stroke, she was affected to the point where she could barely talk. And this is a woman that, she wasn't really that, again, she wasn't like she was 80 or 100. And so through this process, again, after he helped her get better from the stroke and get her mobility back and help her with her communication, and she's getting better to the point where she's back to almost pretty much where she needed to be. Then he gets sick. When he gets sick, she leaves him. And again, they have been married for an extended period of time. They have 3 kids. 2 of them are in the NBA. They have a business that makes a ton of money, and so they break up. They go their separate ways. But I could kind of see the hurt in what he was saying as he was talking, even though he presented like this machismo, I'm a man, and I'll just meet somebody else, and all this stuff, all the things that people do as a way of self-protecting instead of addressing, because self-protecting is not addressing. If we're not addressing, we are not dealing. If we're not dealing with it, then we're not going to heal from it. Deal with it or you won't heal from it. You got to feel it in order to heal it. Feel it to heal it. Put that in the chat. Feel it to heal it. And so when you look at this, when you look at the financial struggle, there will be a financial struggle that comes in every relationship. The longer the relationship, the greater the chance of a financial struggle to take place within that family. And so when you look at the financial struggle, some of the financial struggles could be as a result of, did you have the conversation about spending before you got involved with this person? Or are they a person that just needs to buy Birkin bags and Coach and this, that, and the other, and so on and so forth? Did you notice how if they're a person that's a waster of money or they're a person that saves? The one out of the 2 women that I dated, one of them, she was a massive spender. She had to have a pair of shoes or new sneakers for everything that she had. And when I went into her closet, when I went to her house that one day, and I was like, my God, my God. And I was like, this is not going to be my financial responsibility. And I told her, I said, nah, your spending habits is a big, massive turnoff for me. The way you spend, because you don't value money. You don't see the importance of it. You're not, and see, I know I would need a person that knows that's good at the management part, because I'm a creative. I create things, I build things, but I need a person to manage all the stuff. This is a person that would be like the last situation. Things would just be flying out of the checking account. And so when you look at spending versus saving, are they a spender or a saver? Do they take a portion of their money off the top? Like most of the books that deal with money, the wisest man in I think it's the wisest man in Babylon. No. I forget the name of the book, but so I don't want to quote it. But the book talks about, the importance of taking a portion of your money, just like many people that go to church, they take a portion of their money and they invest it into the church, whether it's a tithe or whether it's whatever term they're using. And the same thing that this author, this book was written a number of years back, suggested that you should do. You should take a portion of your money that you make and take if it's $50, $100, whatever, take that off the top and put it in an account to save, because if you never put anything aside, then you can't never invest. If you don't never invest, you're going to work until you pass, unless you got millions or a substantial amount. And so the first thing is spending versus saving. Second thing is lack of transparency with money. Sometimes you're with a person and you might feel as though they're honest and they're trustworthy, but you have to know for sure what is this person's mentality with money. Sometimes if a person isn't the type of individual that worked for it and they're in competition with you and they don't see the importance of it, they're going to be wasting and spending and stealing and doing all these things because they're in competition with you. But you don't know that because you're not coming from a place of being in competition with them. You're coming from a place of trying to build something with them, but they're competing with you. So you got to know, you got to focus on that. Focus on the mindset of where's their mindset concerning money. Are they truly a team player? Have they proven themselves to be part of the team? Hidden debt and financial. So this is all part of what needs to be discussed, because if you want long-term success in your relationship, you have to discuss your financial responsibility. So if anybody that I would meet, I would have to tell them, look, I got a lot of debt as far as taxes is concerned. Are you willing to be a part of that? A lot. The number's big. It won't be big at one point, but it's big now. And so that's something that has to be discussed. It's got to be disclosed. You got to share it with the person, because then they can make decisions. I don't want anything to do with that, bro. You're on your own with that. Just like any person you meet, if she's a woman that she has student loans, or a man that has student loans. I have a sister that's 3 or 4 years older than me. She's been out of college for, let's say, 35 years. She still got student loans. I'm talking big student loans, because she went to law school. So she got big student loans. She didn't just have student loans. She got big student loans. So this is what I'm saying. This is a person that's in her 60s, been out of school for God knows how long. Let's say almost 40 years. Worked, but it's got student loans because their loans are set up that you never can pay. But this is this type of stuff that has to be discussed, because that's part of what they're bringing into this relationship. And so when there's financial burdens, it's a 3-part, the big three, I'll call them. It's your communication, like we discussed, your communication, your infidelity and betrayals, or financial. Those are the big three of why most couples break up. That's why when you read the divorces, and irreconcilable differences is communication breakdown. Cheating is infidelity, or and then using money's tied in there somewhere. That's why they're fighting about money on the divorce. So hidden debt and secrecy about the debt. It's not a problem to have the debt, but we got to be open and honest and transparent. This is where the communication that we talked about in day one is important. I got to be open. I have to be an open book with this person. If I can't be open, I can't trust that they're going to keep my information, not use it against me at a later date. That's what you have to be aware of. Because when there's financial issues, there's a lot of stress from it. There's a lot of stress from financial issues. I can relate to that, because after COVID, that's when a lot of I was sitting on a couple of houses and I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because of my ex, who's my realtor. She would have it unlisted, and someone would first have it on the contract, and it would fall out because they lost their job and all these things. And I'm having to pay the mortgage on 3 houses, and the electric and the rent and the utilities and this and that. And I was only one guy. it just was overwhelming. I got too far behind because with studying the business, I did not see. Um, I was unaware that a major illness would come, or whatever pandemic would come, because we had never had a pandemic up to that point. There's other things that I look at and I'm aware of and I know to be aware of, but that's something that blindsided me. And so I'm in two deals. And so I still got to pay my bills in my house and all the truck. I had a bunch of trucks because I had a construction company with dump trucks and machines and all this stuff. And then I had another business where I'm doing just strictly real estate, where I'm buying properties and fixing properties and flipping. And so I had debts, and it was just too much. So this is why I'm saying that there will be a time within your life, if you are, especially if you're with a person that's an entrepreneur, that you're going to go through financial struggles and financial difficulties. Why I was going through financial difficulties, one reason was because new in business, I didn't understand the importance of the setup of the company, the setup of the leads, certain people to do certain things. I was trying to do everything. I was doing everything at one time. And by doing everything, you're going to miss things. You're not going to be on top of the leads because you're finishing a project or you're working and so things are being missed. So that's why once I got hit with that, that was like, I had to kind of throw up my hands and say, no mas, no mas. So it brings a level of stress and insecurity because of all the financial issues. And then it's hard to achieve your financial goals. And so this will be a 3-part series. Oh no, it's going to be more than a 3-part series. I got like 6 or 7 of these that I can do based upon this topic. But this topic is dealing with. I came from the mindset of how to have a healthy long-term relationship, but I should just have it titled more so how to have a healthy relationship, because if we create the root or the origin of it right and build on a solid footing, then we won't have as much to concern ourselves with long term, because we had the boundaries in place. We learned how to communicate effectively. We discussed our intimacy and how we're not going to be too friendly with other people. We're going to keep we're going to do things in decency and in order. And we discussed financials, and we made the commitment based upon our communication of that we were in line with each other, and that we wanted to be with each other. And that's all I wanted to share with y'all tonight. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in. I'm going to number these videos because I'm going to put them in like I've been on YouTube. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in like a series, and it'll be like 5 or 6 videos in like a one block, a series. And that way people that want this, they can actually go in there and they can, because right now I'm not charging for this. Later on, I might charge for it. I don't know. Because my goal is to build this business to help people. If I can get some resources, I can actually build a business to help other people. And so that's my goal with all of this. And so appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. She said, well, yeah. And well, that's, most people did. I started broke. I didn't have anything. I started, I don't know if you know what Camaro IROC Z is. I had an 81 or 82 Camaro IROC Z. And on the back window of that Camaro, the glass was like oval. And I started a construction company out of that car. One of the first jobs I got was a siding job. And I don't know if they do a lot of siding down there in the part of the country where you're from, but up here, it's normal to do siding on the house. I think y'all do more brick and stucco and stuff like that. But either way, I did a siding job for a lady that I've known for a while. And from that job, I made a couple $1,000s. And that's how I bought my first truck. I bought a truck maybe kind of 10 years old or something like that. And, it was like maybe 10 grand, whatever it was. It wasn't like it was an expensive truck. And I just went and I just built. Oh, you can. Yeah. Oh, okay. I just seen that. And I just built the company, one step at a time, and I'm just grateful. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's where I started. I started with nothing. That's why I was always a process of learning what were the next steps and next things that I needed to do. And so if there's no questions, if there's any questions, I can answer them. I'll take a little bit of time for questions. And if not, I'm going to wrap this up. Right now, I don't know what my schedule is after July 1st, because I got a couple of people that want me to come in as consultants on things that they're doing. And so I got to kind of see what my schedule is, but I want to keep this up like as many nights throughout the week as I can, sharing a little bit of information, even if like I've been on here for 25 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, no questions. Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate the support, Latanya, on the book. And so what I was going to do is, if you were on TikTok, I was going to pop up on a live, and then there's panels that you can get up on TikTok. And I would just have you come up in the panel. You can kind of talk about the book, and we can have people coming through and whatever. And so if you're not on there, maybe later on, if you are, if you're still not comfortable with Amazon, and I don't know what I did to bust up my knuckles, but so all right. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank you for watching. Those that are going to watch, thank you for sharing, subscribing, hitting the bell notifications, because this is a live video. Not yet. Okay. All right. All right. So either way, I appreciate it. So if that's it, what I'll do is I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you soon. And so, like I always say, I believe in you, but you got to believe in yourself. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Have a good night, Latanya.